Welcome to Stories with Grandma Celine, where African wisdom meets the hidden truths of family, destiny, and the mistakes that echo across generations. Today we bring you the story of If Only She Knew, a tale of a mother's secret, a child's journey, and the kind of truth that refuses to stay buried. Travel with us from the quiet corners of a Nigerian orphanage to the bustling streets of Lagos and the warm homes of Ibadan. Here a baby boy named Isaacs is abandoned before he can even open his eyes, yet destiny carries him farther than anyone imagined. He grows into brilliance, into purpose, into a man shaped by pain but crowned by grace. But life has a way of circling back. Old secrets knock on new doors. And the past, no matter how deeply hidden, always finds its way home. Sit back, relax, and journey with us as we uncover betrayal, lost bloodlines, hidden motives, and a mother's regret that comes 28 years too late. This is the story of a boy who was thrown away, and the man who returned with the truth. A story of choices, consequences, and a destiny no one could stop. Welcome to If Only She Knew. The night Rashida abandoned her newborn, Lagos was asleep except for the guilt that refused to let her rest. She stood outside Hope Haven Orphanage, carrying a baby wrapped in a soft yellow cloth, a baby she refused to name. Naming him would make it harder, and she didn't want difficulty. She wanted freedom. Her new boyfriend, Malik, had been clear enough. I can't be with a woman dragging another man's child around. If you want a future with me, you handle it. By handle it, he meant get rid of the baby. Rashida chose Malik. The baby, barely 6 hours old, slept peacefully in her arms, tiny fingers, soft breaths, a quiet innocence she pretended not to see. She looked around quickly, ensuring no one was watching. She didn't want pity. She didn't want questions. She didn't want responsibility. She whispered, "I'm sorry, but I can't do this." A lie. She wasn't sorry. She was simply afraid of losing the lifestyle Malik promised her: vacations, expensive restaurants, a new apartment in Lekki. A baby did not fit into that picture. She placed him on the orphanage doorstep, knocked twice, then walked away without looking back. Every step felt lighter, not heavier. Inside the orphanage, Sister Margaret opened the door and gasped. "Oh, precious child, who left you here?" She lifted him gently, noticing the expensive blanket and the faint scent of expensive perfume. This was not a poor woman's child. As Rashida walked back to Malik's waiting car, she felt relief wash over her. Her life would begin again. If only she knew. If only she knew that the tiny child she abandoned out of convenience would grow to be one of Nigeria's brightest medical minds. If only she knew that the day would come when she would desperately need him. If only she knew the revenge that awaited her. But that night she slept peacefully, unaware that destiny had already started keeping receipts. 2 weeks after the baby was found, Mr. and Mrs. Femi walked into Hope Haven Orphanage. They had prayed for years for a child. Doctors said there was no hope. But Mrs. Femi always said, "God has not forgotten us." When Sister Margaret placed the baby in their arms, Mrs. Femi burst into tears. "He's beautiful," she whispered. "He looks like he has greatness written all over him." The baby stretched his small fingers and touched her cheek as if choosing her. Mr. Femi felt something shift inside him. "This is our son," he said firmly. "Let's call him Isaacs." They signed the adoption papers that same week. As they left the orphanage, a nurse approached Sister Margaret. "That child, his mother will regret abandoning him. There is something different about him." Sister Margaret nodded slowly. "Some souls come into the world carrying destiny. Isaacs is one of them." Life in the Femi household instantly changed. Isaacs grew surrounded by love, discipline, and warmth. Mr. Femi, a mathematics teacher, read to him every night. Mrs. Femi taught him songs, stories, and faith. The child flourished like a flower finally given sunlight. But unknown to the family, a woman sometimes watched from afar, hidden behind tinted car windows, sunglasses, or headscarves. Rashida. She didn't want to approach. She only wanted to be sure the baby was alive and had been taken by a decent family. Not because she cared, because guilt sometimes scratched her conscience. Each time she saw the child smiling, she reassured herself. "He's fine, I made the right decision." But deep in her chest, a warning she refused to hear whispered back. "If only you knew." Because as Isaacs took his first steps, Rashida walked deeper into the life she traded him for: luxury, lies, and a future built on fragile ground. And destiny watched quietly. From the moment Isaacs could talk, he asked questions, endless questions, about the sky, the stars, the human body, machines, and everything that breathed or moved. By age 5, he dismantled a broken radio and rebuilt it. By age 7, he memorized the periodic table for fun. By age 9, he corrected his teacher's arithmetic. His teachers used words like gifted, unusual, remarkably observant. But the most common one was different. Isaacs wasn't loud, troublesome, or playful like other children. He watched people quietly, studying expressions, patterns, the things people hid. His silence made adults uncomfortable sometimes. Mrs. Femi often said, "He sees through people too easily. His eyes are older than his age." He excelled in school effortlessly. Science competitions, robotics challenges, mathematics Olympiads, Isaacs won them all. His picture was constantly on notice boards. One teacher told Mrs. Femi, "Your son is the type that comes once in a generation." But with brilliance came something else, an intense coldness underneath his calm exterior. He never forgot anything, especially betrayal, lies, or disrespect, not because he was petty, but because his mind recorded everything like data. And all through his childhood, he felt watched. At school events, during cultural days, even during inter-house sports, a woman always lingered in the background. Her eyes followed him with a painful intensity he didn't understand. He didn't know her names. He didn't know her story. But he never forgot her face. Something about her gaze unsettled him. It wasn't love, it wasn't kindness, it was desperation. As he grew older, that same face would return again and again, both in memory and in real life. At night, he sometimes told himself, "One day I'll know who she is." And destiny whispered back, "If only you knew how close the truth already was." Secondary school brought new opportunities, new competitions, and a bigger world, but it also brought back the woman in the shadows. She never spoke to Isaacs. She never came close. But she always appeared. During visiting days, though she never visited any student. During PTA meetings, though she was not a parent. During science exhibitions, watching him more than the projects. Isaacs noticed everything. Whenever he raised his head unexpectedly, she quickly looked away. Whenever he pretended not to see her, she inched a little closer. His friends joked, "Maybe she likes you, maybe she's a secret admirer." But Isaacs knew better. That gaze wasn't admiration. It was hunger, it was regret, it was a silent cry wrapped in fear. One afternoon, after winning the state science fair, Isaacs turned sharply and caught her staring. Their eyes locked for 5 long seconds. He saw pain. He saw longing. He saw something that looked like guilt. But he also saw something darker, fear of being recognized. When he blinked, she hurried away. After that day, Isaacs kept track of her pattern. She always stood near the science block, never the arts. She always hid behind sunglasses. She avoided teachers. She avoided crowds. She only watched him. Mrs. Femi noticed too. "That woman, she's been here before," she whispered to her husband. "Do you think she's following our child?" Mr. Femi dismissed it gently. "Probably a staff member, don't worry." But late that night, Isaacs overheard their conversation. And something inside him hardened. Who was she? Why him? Why always watching, never speaking? Years later, he would discover that the answer was written long before he was born. If only she knew how deeply he observed her. If only she knew the cold mind she was waking up. If only she knew that every sighting was becoming data in Isaac's memory. The kind of data he would one day use against her. By SS2, Isaacs was no longer just a brilliant student, he was feared. Teachers respected him, classmates admired him, and competitors avoided him. He didn't shout, fight, or boast. He simply knew things. He knew when someone was lying. He knew when someone was pretending. He knew when someone had ulterior motives. His calm silence scared bullies. They said his eyes cut through people. The school principal once described him as a mind that sees before it speaks. Meanwhile, the woman in the shadows remained a constant presence. Sometimes she appeared only once a term, sometimes twice in a week. Always watching. Always hiding. One day, Isaacs followed her discreetly after a school event. She walked fast, as if afraid of being caught. When she turned a corner, he stopped. He didn't want her to know he was observing her. Not yet. He wanted answers, but he wanted them on his terms. When he returned home, Mrs. Femi asked the question every mother fears. "Isaacs, is everything okay? You've been quiet." "I'm thinking," he answered simply. "About what?" He hesitated. "About people who watch but do not speak." Mrs. Femi assumed it was about school drama and hugged him, but Isaac's mind wasn't on classmates. He was analyzing the unknown woman, her patterns, reactions, timing, purpose. At 16, he already understood something critical. People who hide usually hide because the truth can destroy them. That night, he wrote in his notebook, "Her eyes carry a story, a heavy one connected to me." Then he drew a question beneath it. "Mother." The thought scared him, not emotionally but logically. Why was she always there? Why did her face feel familiar? He closed the notebook slowly. If only she knew, he was already starting to uncover the truth. If only she knew the kind of man he would become. If only she knew the revenge he was capable of. By SS3, Isaacs had outgrown the walls of his secondary school. His teachers constantly said, "This boy needs the world. Nigeria alone cannot contain him." His exceptional WAEC and JAM scores caught the attention of an international NGO that sponsored science prodigies. When the scholarship letter arrived, Mrs. Femi cried and danced at the same time. "My son is going to England. God is wonderful." Isaacs received a full ride to study medicine in the UK, tuition, accommodation, living expenses, everything. His quiet nature hid the storm of curiosity inside him. He wanted answers about his mother, his origins, his identity, but he wanted to leave first. Leaving Nigeria felt like an escape from invisible eyes. But the woman in the shadows was not done. On the day he travelled, as the family walked into the airport, Isaacs felt a familiar chill. He turned and saw her, standing behind a column, wearing a scarf and oversized sunglasses, clutching her handbag as if holding her breath. Before he could react, she stepped back into the crowd. Mrs. Femi noticed Isaac's gaze drifting. "Are you okay?" "Yes, Mummy, I'm just observing." The word observing meant something deeper for him. He was recording her face again, adding another piece to the puzzle. As they passed through airport security, Isaacs glanced at the glass wall. He caught her reflection behind him, watching until he disappeared completely from sight. She didn't wave. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just watched. Inside the plane, Isaacs closed his eyes and whispered, "One day you will tell me who you are." Destiny whispered back. If only she knew how close that day was. If only she knew the cold mind she was shaping. If only she knew the revenge she was building with her silence. Because Isaacs left Nigeria with one goal: to become too powerful for the truth to hurt him. England was colder than Isaacs expected, both the weather and the people, but he adapted quickly. He studied with military discipline, survived on little sleep, and absorbed information like a machine. His professors admired his focus. "This young man never loses concentration," one said. But no one understood that Isaacs was running on something stronger than ambition, unanswered questions. At night he replayed memories of the woman, her posture, her expressions, her fear, her guilt. He stored them like data in a mental archive. Still, life in England brought new experiences. A multicultural environment. Advanced labs. Mentors who pushed him. Competitions that sharpened him further. He was the student who always sat at the front, always asked the most precise questions, always finished first during practicals. His fellow students called him Ice Logic. He rarely smiled, rarely relaxed, rarely opened up, but he was respected deeply. One evening while walking home, he saw a pregnant woman struggling with her bags. Without thinking, he helped her. She thanked him repeatedly, tears in her eyes. That tiny moment triggered something inside him. Why would a mother abandon her child? The question that had followed him for years became sharper. He analyzed possible reasons scientifically. Mental instability, financial hardship, family pressure, fear, trauma, but none matched the woman he remembered. She didn't look helpless, she looked guilty. And guilt always has a reason. He decided that after graduation he would return to Nigeria, not just to visit but to investigate. If only she knew he was getting closer. If only she knew he remembered every detail of her face. If only she knew he was no longer the helpless baby she abandoned. He was becoming something else entirely. Isaacs met Bola Oladipo on an unusually warm afternoon in the school library. She was struggling to balance 5 heavy textbooks. One slipped, and before it hit the floor, Isaacs caught it with one hand. "Thank you," she said, breathless. "You're welcome." He didn't intend to stay longer, but Bola had a warmth that softened the ice around him. She laughed easily, spoke softly, and carried a kindness Isaacs was not used to. They began studying together, then having coffee, then taking long walks around campus. Bola noticed he rarely smiled, but she also noticed something else. His heart was good, even if it was cold from life's wounds. One evening she asked, "Do you have any siblings?" "No." "What about your parents?" "Only the ones who raised me." She sensed the answer was heavier than it sounded, so she didn't push. Isaacs observed Bola with the same sharpness he used on everyone, but unlike others she never triggered suspicion. She was genuine, simple, grounded. She became his calm. By their 3rd year they were inseparable. Bola's parents in Nigeria adored him through video calls. Her mother always said, "That boy is gold, hold him tight." Isaacs excelled academically, published research papers, and received multiple awards. Bola celebrated his achievements more than he did. She saw greatness in him long before the world did. But even in happiness, shadows remained. Isaacs dreamed often of the woman, the stalker, the silent watcher, the unknown mother. Her face hovered in his dreams the way clouds hover over an otherwise bright sky. Bola noticed his troubled nights. "You always look like you're fighting something in your sleep," she said. Isaac simply replied, "One day I will face it." If only she knew how close that day was. If only she knew the storm waiting in Nigeria. If only she knew that the past was preparing to collide with their future. In his final year of medical school, Isaacs decided to access his adoption file, not because he expected answers, but because he was tired of carrying shadows in his mind. He wrote to Hope Haven Orphanage requesting his original documents. Weeks passed with no reply. That alone made him suspicious. Finally, the orphanage responded with a short message. "We regret to inform you that your original file is missing. Only a partial record remains." Isaacs frowned. Missing files don't just disappear in Nigeria without a reason. He requested digital copies of whatever remained. When the email came, he studied the documents line by line. Something stood out immediately. Under biological mother, the line read, "Information restricted on request." Restricted? By who? And why? He zoomed in on the digital signature. It wasn't a nun or orphanage worker, it was someone else. A civilian signature, a woman. The name was blurred, as if intentionally scratched on the original file before scanning. But Isaacs recognized the shape of the first letter. His heartbeat slowed. His breathing deepened. Not out of fear but calculation. There were fingerprints on his life, someone hiding something big, someone who watched him for years, someone who didn't want him to know the truth. But secrets eventually open. He sent a request to Lagos State Child Services for records from the year he was abandoned. He contacted one of his senior colleagues who worked in immigration to check passport records of possible guardians. Piece by piece, the puzzle began to form. The woman had tried to erase her tracks. But Isaac's mind was built for this: patterns, details, anomalies. Bola watched him study file after file. "Are you sure you want to go down this road?" she asked softly. "Yes," Isaacs replied. Because the truth is calling me and I don't ignore calls. If only Rashida knew he had found the first crack. If only she knew her lies were unraveling. If only she knew the kind of man she had created with her selfishness. By the time Isaacs completed his medical degree, he had become a name people whispered with admiration. Brilliant Nigerian doctor. Future researcher. His mind is different. He got an offer to work with a prestigious medical research institute in London. His salary was impressive, his reputation growing, his network expanding. He was becoming everything Rashida hoped her life would be: successful, respected, admired. The irony was heavy. She threw him away to chase a man. He became a man others chased for his brilliance. He didn't celebrate loudly. He never did. Instead, he took Bola out to dinner and shared the news with his usual calmness. Bola's eyes lit up. Isaacs, this is huge, you deserve this. But Isaacs felt incomplete. No success erased the question. Who was the woman and why hide? During his internship, he received an anonymous card at his apartment door. No stamp, no name, just handwriting that trembled. I am proud of you. Isaacs turned the card over again and again. The handwriting looked vaguely familiar, round, feminine, controlled. Bola noticed the tension in his jaw. Is everything okay? Yes. Another lie. He placed the card in a drawer he rarely opened. Another clue, another unanswered question. But success only postponed the inevitable, because not long after that, Bola's mother announced her 60th birthday celebration in Nigeria. And Bola said the words that would open the door Isaacs had spent years preparing for. We're traveling to Ibadan, Mummy wants everybody there. Isaacs nodded slowly. Good, it's time I went home. If only Rashida knew he was coming back. If only she knew he was no longer a confused child. If only she knew the storm walking back into Nigeria bore her name. The next morning, Isaacs wakes up earlier than everyone. He checks outside the guest room window and sees her, the woman from the party, standing across the street, pretending to buy vegetables from a hawker while staring directly at the house. Bola comes in, adjusting her hair. Your friend is back, she jokes lightly. Isaacs forces a smile, but his mind races. He watches the woman walk away after a few minutes, only to return again later, this time talking to one of the older neighbors. She keeps coming back. She keeps watching her. When she finally leaves, Isaac steps outside to find out what she asked the neighbor. An old man tells him. She asked who the young doctor visiting the family is, and whether you were born in Lagos. Isaac freezes. Why Lagos, why his birth? A chill runs down his spine. She knows something. She knows him. And for the first time, Isaacs begins to think this is no coincidence. Later that evening, Bola mentions casually, Mummy told me that woman has been coming here for years. She always asks about people who visit. Years, Isaac's heartbeat stops. Isaac sits quietly, pretending not to care, but inside his mind is burning. Years, why has she been coming here for years? Who was she looking for before I arrived? At breakfast, he casually asks his mother-in-law. Mum, that woman from the party, the one who keeps coming, do you know her? Mama Bola shrugs. Kai, don't mind that woman. She came to work for our school years ago. Always had one sad story or another. But she stopped working there suddenly, around the same time you were in secondary school. Isaac's spoon drops. Secondary school. Kai, Mama continues, she cried a lot back then. They said she lost a baby. But it was her fault she abandoned the child. Isaac's goes cold. Bola's mother keeps talking, unaware that she's tearing open destiny. She said she dropped the baby at one orphanage in Lagos. Till today she says she regrets it. A ringing sound fills Isaac's ears. Abandoned child. Orphanage. Lagos. The pieces come together in one terrifying possibility. But he remains calm, calculating, unreadable. That night, Isaacs receives a text message from an unknown number. I know who you are. Isaac stares at the message, emotionless on the outside, but inside a volcano is brewing. He types back. Who is this? No reply. He waits, minutes pass. Bowler has long fallen asleep beside him, but Isaacs remains wide awake. Finally, another message arrives. Please, I just want to talk to you. It's about your mother. Isaac's blood turns cold. He replies, My mother is dead. A long pause. Then, no, she is not. Isaacs gets out of bed quietly and walks into the hallway, phone in hand, breathing hard. He responds, Prove it. A photo comes in, a recent picture. The same woman from the party. Same person staring at him. Same eyes. The caption below it says, Her name is Josephine. And she is your biological mother. Isaacs grips the phone so tightly his knuckles turn white, but his expression remains calm enough to scare the walls. The sender texts again. She will come to the house tomorrow morning. Be ready. Isaac sits outside the next morning pretending to scroll through medical articles. In truth, he is waiting. At exactly 9:12 a.m. she appears. Josephine. The woman who abandoned him. She looks nervous, clutching a faded handbag like it contains her entire life. Dr. Isaacs, she says softly. Her voice shakes. Isaacs looks up slowly, face unreadable. Yes, how may I help you? She swallows hard. I've been looking for you for years. Isaacs pretends confusion. For me, why? Josephine begins trembling. Because I think you are my son. He stares at her with dead calm eyes. I have no idea what you're talking about. She looks devastated. But he keeps going. You must be mistaken, my mother died when I was a baby. Josephine covers her mouth, fighting tears. I'm sorry, she whispers. I'm so sorry, I didn't want to leave you, I didn't know they would take you, Isaac stands up sharply. I think you should go, now. She bursts into tears, begging. I just want to explain. But he walks away, leaving her crying in the compound. His face remains calm. But inside, something dark is waking up. As he enters the house, his phone buzzes with another message from the unknown number. Don't let her trick you. She's lying. Isaacs reads the message again, slowly calculating. If Josephine is lying, then who is telling the truth? He texts the unknown sender. Who are you? This time the reply is instant. Someone who knows what she did. Isaacs feels a spark of something. Not fear. Not anxiety. But opportunity. The sender continues. Don't believe her stories. She didn't abandon you out of pain or confusion. Ask her whose child she really wanted to keep. Isaacs freezes. What does that mean? Was there another child? Did she choose one over me? A new message arrives. Meet me alone tonight, I'll show you everything. Isaacs pockets the phone calmly. Bowler calls from the kitchen, laughing about something her mother said, but Isaacs barely hears her. Because the truth, the real truth, is close. And when the truth comes, revenge will follow. As Isaac steps outside to clear his head, he sees Josephine again. Kneeling outside the gate, crying, begging softly. Isaacs, please, I didn't know they would take the wrong baby. The wrong baby. Isaac stops breathing. Night falls. Isaacs leaves the house quietly, saying he wants fresh air. Bowler thinks nothing of it. He walks to the abandoned football field behind the community centre, the location the unknown sender instructed. The place is dim, silent, haunted by crickets and old memories. Then he sees a figure standing by the broken goalpost. A man, tall, face half hidden in the shadows. You came, the man says. Isaacs remains calm. Who are you? My name doesn't matter, the man replies. What matters is the truth Josephine will never tell you. Isaacs folds his arms. Then talk. The man steps forward enough for his face to show, a familiar school security officer from Isaac's secondary school. I knew you when you were a teenager, he says, and I knew her, Josephine. Isaac's jaw tightens. She wasn't looking at you because she recognized you, the man says. She was watching you because she was trying to confirm something. What? Isaac asks sharply. The man takes a deep breath. Whether they dumped the right baby, or whether you were the wrong one. Isaac feels a cold wave rush through him. The man hands Isaac an old brown envelope. Everything is inside, but once you open it, your life changes forever. Isaac takes the envelope home, but doesn't open it immediately. He sits in the car for several minutes, staring at it. Inside the house, everyone is asleep. The night is deadly quiet. Finally, he tears the seal. Newspaper cuttings. Hospital slips. Photos. A blurry image of 2 infants in a hospital cot. 2. Not 1. Isaac reads the hospital tag. Baby A female. Baby B male. There was another baby born that same day. The next document shakes him. Case review, missing baby A presumed stolen. Mother Josephine Oluwatobi. Isaac's hands tremble for the first time since this began. She lost a baby. But which one? And why abandon the other? Then he sees the final sheet. Orphanage intake record, male infant. Dropped off by unidentified female. Unidentified. Not Josephine. A different woman dropped him. His heartbeat stops. Someone else abandoned him. And Josephine might not be telling the whole story. At the bottom of the envelope is a final note from the unknown sender. Ask her about baby A, the one she chose. Isaac wakes up earlier than everyone else the next morning. He goes outside and sees Josephine sitting on a stool near the gate, eyes swollen from crying all night. He walks up to her slowly, each step controlled, calculated. Where is she? He asks coldly. Josephine blinks. Who? Baby A. Josephine's lips tremble violently. She looks like she might faint. You know who I'm talking about, Isaac says. You had 2 children that night. Where is the girl? Josephine bursts into tears. I didn't choose her, I did, they forced me, they. Isaac cuts her off with a single icy glance. You abandoned me, he says, but you kept someone else. She shakes her head frantically. I didn't keep her, she was stolen from me. They took her first, I searched everywhere. Who? Isaac demands. Josephine whispers, voice cracking. Your aunt, my older sister, she stole the girl and she dumped you. Isaac's breath catches. His aunt stole his sister. And abandoned him instead. A family betrayal. A total inversion of fate. For the first time, rage flickers behind Isaac's calm exterior. Josephine grabs his hand desperately. Please, Isaac, if only you knew the full truth. You would understand that I suffered too. But Isaac pulls his hand away without a word. Isaac returns inside the house, shaken but collected. Bola notices his mood immediately. Baby, are you okay? She asks. I'm fine, he lies. But he is not fine. He goes into the guest room and spreads the documents on the bed again, trying to piece the puzzle. If baby A was stolen, where is she now? Alive, dead, raised elsewhere. He remembers the unknown sender's warning. Someone knows more. Someone is hiding something bigger. Then his phone buzzes. It's the same unknown number. Find your aunt. She still has what should have been your life. Isaac's heart freezes. Still has. Does that mean his sister is alive? The message continues. She lives in Ibadan now. Go before Josephine gets to her first. Isaac clenches his fists. The abandoned child. The stolen child. The mother who ran. The aunt who betrayed. If only she knew. That the child she threw away has come back with a mind forged in ice. Isaac whispers to himself. I'm done asking questions. It's time for answers. Isaac tells Bola he needs to travel for something medical related. She believes him, though she worries. Before leaving, he glances out the window. Josephine is still outside, still crying, still waiting. He walks past her without stopping. She calls his name. He doesn't answer. He gets into a taxi and heads toward the highway. His mind is cold, silent, strategic. Ibadan, the aunt, the stolen sister. When he reaches the bus park, the unknown number texts again. Be careful. Your aunt is not the only one hiding something. Isaacs frowns. Who else? He replies. The return message sends a chill through him. Your mother-in-law knows more about your past than you think. Isaacs goes still. Bola's mother. What does she know? How is she connected? Everything becomes clearer, darker, more twisted. This is no longer a story about abandonment. It is a story of betrayal layered over betrayal. As Isaacs boards the vehicle to Ibadan, he receives one final message. If only SHE knew who she abandoned. She would have BEGGDYEARS ago. The journey to Ibadan is long, filled with Isaacs, cold thoughts and the hum of the road beneath him. He doesn't blink much. Doesn't speak. Doesn't smile. He is calculating. When he arrives in Bodija, he goes straight to the address the unknown sender provided, a quiet compound with an old mango tree leaning toward the gate. He knocks. A tired-looking woman in her late 50s appears. Isaacs knows who she is instantly. He has her eyes, her sharp jawline, her posture. His aunt, the woman who stole his sister, and abandoned him instead. Good afternoon, Ma, Isaac says politely. She squints. Do I know you? Not yet, he replies calmly, but you knew me the moment I was born. Her face freezes. Isaacs watches the shock, the terror, the guilt rising like smoke. She steps back. Use your... Yes, Isaac says, the boy you dumped. Before she can respond, a young woman's voice calls from inside. Mummy, who is that? A girl, about 27 years old. Beautiful, confident. Isaac stares. His sister, alive. The girl, tall, graceful, warm-eyed, approaches the door. Good evening, she says politely. Sorry, do we know you? Isaacs doesn't answer immediately. He stares at her with a strange, unreadable calm. She lived the life he never had. She got the mother's love. She grew up in a home. She had a family. He grew up in an orphanage. 2 Barbies. 1 stolen. 1 abandoned. Isaacs finally speaks. My name is Isaacs, and I believe you and I share something. The aunt steps in quickly. No, don't listen to him. Isaacs lifts a single finger. Don't lie, not today. His voice is ice. The girl frowns. Mummy, what's going on? A tear slips from the aunt's eye. He is Josephine's son. The girl gasps. My what? Isaacs tilts his head slightly. You were stolen from her. And I was thrown away because of it. Silence. Dead, heavy, suffocating. The girl's breath shakes. Is that true, Mummy? The aunt collapses into a chair. Yes, she whispers. Isaacs turns to leave, but the girl runs after him and grabs his hand. Please don't go. Let me hear everything. They sit on a bench under the mango tree. The sister listens with wide, horrified eyes as Isaacs tells the story. Orphanage, adoption, the scholarship, England, becoming a doctor, and then the shocking reunion with Josephine. She holds her chest. I had no idea I even had a brother, she whispers. Mummy told me I was adopted from a distant cousin who died. Isaacs lets out a dry, humorless breath. So she lied to you too. The girl looks back at the house, disgusted. Isaacs continues. She told me she lost you, that you were stolen. But she didn't mention who stole you. The girl turns pale. So I was the one she wanted to keep. And you were the one she threw away. Isaac says nothing. He doesn't have to. The truth screams on its own. The girl begins crying softly. I'm so sorry for everything you went through. Isaacs shakes his head calmly. You owe me nothing, none of this is your fault. She wipes her tears. I want to help you, whatever you plan to do, I want to be part of it. Isaacs looks at her sharply. She meets his gaze without fear. I mean it, she says. If they ruined your life, they ruined mine too. I want justice. Isaac smirks slightly. Justice. Revenge. Two sides of the same blade. As Isaac stands to leave, she gives him a name. A name he never expected to hear. Auntie Remy, she was involved too. Isaac sits in a small restaurant near the park, drinking bottled water and staring blankly at the wooden table. Auntie Remy. Another name. Another thread in the web. Bola calls him twice, he ignores both calls. He needs silence. He needs clarity. Finally, he texts the unknown number. What do you know about Auntie Remy? The reply comes instantly. She was Josephine's closest friend. And she knows why you were the one abandoned. Isaac's breathing slows. His eyes narrow. He types. Where is she? Another quick reply. She works at a maternity home in Lagos. Isaac's mind spins. A maternity home. Is that where everything started? He calls for a taxi, his voice calm as still water. But inside, something dark begins to sharpen. Not anger. Not pain. Purpose. He heads back to Lagos that evening, determined to confront Remy. Remy, the woman who might be the bridge between the stolen baby and the abandoned one. As he arrives in Lagos, he receives a new message. Be careful. Remy doesn't want the truth to come out. Isaacs arrives at the maternity home early in the morning. He wears his doctor identity tag, it gives him access anywhere. He walks through the hallways quietly, observing. He finds Remy's office. She is inside, a woman in her late 50s, confident, sharp-eyed, with a smile that hides too much. Good morning, she says, how may I help you? Isaacs closes the door slowly behind him. I'm looking for information about a child abandoned 28 years ago. Remy stiffens. There are thousands of records. Not this one, Isaacs interrupts. His tone is low. Cold. Dangerous. He drops the brown envelope on her desk. She sees the documents. Her face drains of colour. Who are you? She whispers. Isaac steps closer. I am the boy you all threw away. Remy gasps. You weren't supposed to find out. Isaac tilts his head slightly. So you admit it. Remy begins trembling. We only did what your mother wanted. Which mother? Isaac snaps. The one who stole. Or the one who abandoned. Remy starts crying. Please listen. But Isaacs is done listening. He leans closer until his face is inches from hers. You're going to tell me everything. Every lie. Every secret. Every betrayal. Remy shakes uncontrollably. And when you're done, Isaacs whispers, voice like a blade. I will decide what to do with all of you. This is the moment the revenge begins. The calm doctor becomes the storm. Remy whispers one final, horrifying truth. You weren't abandoned by accident. You were sold. Remy collapses into her chair, hands shaking violently. Isaac stands over her like a shadow that has come to collect a long-overdue debt. Sold, he repeats quietly. Remy nods, tears spilling onto her blouse. It wasn't supposed to happen that way, she sobs. Your mother, Josephine, she was desperate. Her husband threatened to kill her if she brought home twins. He said he would only accept one baby. Isaac's jaw tightens. Go on. Remy wipes her face. Josephine begged me to help her hide one baby. Your aunt overheard, and instead of helping, she stole the girl, baby A. Isaacs remains still, emotionless. Remy continues, voice cracking. That night, Josephine panicked. She didn't want the husband to think she had twins, so she told us to get rid of you. She wanted us to give you to a trusted couple secretly. But the couple refused. Isaacs tilts his head, and then Remy breaks down completely. She told us to sell you off to a woman who trafficked Barbies to orphanages. Isaacs closes his eyes briefly, not in pain, but to steady his growing storm. He opens them again, gaze sharp as a scalpel. So it wasn't a mistake, he says quietly. I was never abandoned by accident. No, Remy whispers. You were the unwanted twin. The room feels colder. Isaacs leans closer, face unreadable. Thank you, he says softly. You've told me enough. Remy lets out a shaky sigh, relieved. Until Isaacs picks up his phone, dials a number and says, It's time. On the other end of the lines, Josephine answers. Isaacs arranges a meeting. Not in private. Not in secret. He chooses a neutral ground, an empty hall behind the maternity home. By 6 p.m. the players begin to arrive. Josephine pale, trembling. The aunt from Ibadan, escorted by Isaac's sister. Remy still shaking. His sister calm, betrayed, furious. Isaac stands before them with the cold stillness of a judge. Good, he says quietly, you're all here. Josephine immediately drops to her knees. Please, Isaacs, let me explain. You've explained enough, he cuts in sharply. The aunt tries to speak. We were young, we. Isaacs raises a hand. Silence falls. He turns to Remy. You sold me. Remy begins crying again. He turns to the aunt. You stole my sister. She covers her face in shame. Then he turns to Josephine. And you chose which child lived in your arms. And which one lived without a name. Josephine sobs, if only I knew what they would do. Isaacs laughs softly, a humorless, deadly sound. You knew. You all knew. You made choices. He steps forward, eyes sharp, voice low. Tonight I make mine. Isaacs pulls out 4 sealed envelopes. Each one addressed to one of them. Inside each envelope is their fate. Isaacs hands out the envelopes. No one opens theirs until I say so. They obey. Not because they respect him, but because they fear him. His sister stands beside him, arms crossed, silent but ready. Isaacs begins with Remy. Open it. Remy's hands shake violently as she tears the seal. Inside is a letter. She reads it and collapses to the floor. Medical council report, she whispers. Suspension, public investigation. Isaacs nods. You will face the world for every illegal adoption, every stolen child, every secret sale. You lose your license today. Remy breaks down, screaming. Next, Isaacs turns to his aunt. Your turn. She opens the envelope. Her face turns white. A printed photo slips out. A picture of his sister, taken earlier in the day. And an official court document. His aunt stammers. You filed for legal charges. Yes, Isaac says coldly. For kidnapping. For child trafficking. For falsifying adoption records. His aunt begins shaking uncontrollably. You will face prison, Isaacs adds calmly. Exactly what you deserve. His sister watches quietly, tears gathering in her eyes. Not for her mother, but for the truth. Then Isaacs turns to Josephine. The room goes silent. Open yours. Josephine opens the envelope with hands that are barely steady enough to move. Inside is not a document. Not a police report. Not a court paper. Just one sentence. Live with it. Josephine looks up, confused and terrified. Isaac speaks slowly, deliberately. You don't get prison. You don't get punishment. You don't get closure. You get nothing. Josephine covers her mouth. Isaacs continues. You will wake up every day knowing the son you threw away grew up without you, and has now chosen to live without you. The aunt sobs. Remy cries. His sister watches, stunned. Josephine whispers, Isaacs, please, I'm still your mother. No, Isaacs replies softly. You are the woman who chose the wrong baby. And now you will die with that regret. Josephine screams his name as he walks away. But he never looks back. Isaacs and his sister walk out of the hall together. She stops him. What about me? She asks softly. Isaacs turns to her. She looks broken not because of him, but because of everything she never knew. He sighs softly. You are innocent, he says. She nods, tears spilling. Then can I be in your life? She asks quietly. As your sister. Isaac studies her face. He sees honesty, pain, hope. Yes, he finally says. She breaks into tears and hugs him tightly. For the first time in this story, Isaac's eyes soften. One good thing survived the wreckage. They return to Lagos together. When they enter Bola's parents' compound, Bola runs to him, angry and worried. Where did you disappear to? Why didn't you answer your calls? Isaacs pulls her close. I had to finish something. His mother-in-law watches them from the balcony. Eyes cold, calculating. Isaacs notices. And he remembers the warning. Your mother-in-law knows more than you think. As Isaacs helps his sister into the guest room, his mother-in-law whispers to him. We need to talk. I know who Josephine was. Isaacs follows Mama Bola into her sitting room. She closes the door. Her voice drops. 28 years ago, I worked at the same hospital where Josephine gave birth. Isaacs goes still. Mama Bola continues. I knew her. I knew her husband. I knew the scandal. I knew about the twins. I knew about the theft. I knew about the sale. Isaac's heart stops. You knew, he whispers. Mama Bola nods, unflinching. And I knew the truth would destroy you. So I stayed away from it. Isaac's calm face cracks. Just slightly. Mama Bola then says the last thing he ever expected. Josephine didn't just abandon you. She tried to come back for you years later. But the woman who sold you told her you were already dead. Isaac's chest tightens. That means, she mourned you, Mama Bola says quietly. 4 years. She believed you were gone. Isaacs looks away, jaw clenched. Mama Bola touches his shoulder gently. Son, revenge gives satisfaction. But truth gives peace. Isaacs closes his eyes. He doesn't answer. He walks out silently, thinking of Josephine on her knees, crying outside the gate. Begging him. Calling his name. For days. If only she knew he was alive. If only she knew he became a doctor. If only she knew he would return. Not to embrace her, but to judge her. Isaacs walks outside and sees Josephine still sitting opposite the compound. Broken, lost, destroyed. He stands there for a long moment. Then he whispers to himself. You wanted a child you could control. You got a man you cannot face. He walks back inside. He does not forgive her. But he does not destroy her completely. His revenge. He lets her live with the truth. A punishment sharper than any blade. And that was the moment everything changed. Isaacs didn't shout. He didn't cry. He didn't ask why they did it. He simply stood up, looked his mother in the eyes, and said, You didn't lose me. You traded me. And now you must live with the son you threw away. Then he walked out, leaving her frozen in disbelief, finally tasting the regret she thought would never come. If only she knew. The baby she abandoned would be the man who came back to reveal the truth. Now let me ask you. Was Isaac's right to walk away? Should he have forgiven her? Or was she too late? Tell me what you would have done in his shoes. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories.